welcome to Gogotechy again, and welcome to this course on GCA versus logical questions. So, welcome again, and whether you're interviewing for Google, Amazon, or any top company or any startup, you're going to be facing questions to actually be tested for your logical structural thinking. So, imagine as examples that you get asked, how would you measure success for a new messaging feature? 2, daily revenue spiked 300% yesterday. What happened? Or third example, design a customer support operations for widespread in India. Walk me through the proposal. Here's the secret for GCA and logical questions. The journey is the answer, okay? You're not being judged on getting the right answer. You're actually being evaluated on how you think. So companies want to see your thought process, your structure, your logic, and the questions that you ask to the interviewer to get the information that is obviously missing in each one of the questions that you're going to get. So today we're going to learn the exact framework to tackle any logical questions with confidence. Part 1, understanding logical questions. So what are logical questions? Logical questions are also called at Google, for example, open-ended questions or case questions, okay? And they're going to be testing your ability to structure ambiguous problems, think critically under pressure, ask smart questions, and communicate your answers clearly. So now we have 2 types of logical questions, and go back to our methodology nailed to actually go deeper in each one of them. So we have GCA, general cognitive ability, and then we have consultancy questions, very typically used in consultancy firms as well. Let's start with the GCA, general cognitive ability. So imagine you have been asked and the interviewer tells you, okay, design a customer support operations operations project for our self-driving car launch in India. Walk me through the proposal. Okay, so for this type of questions, we use the 3-step framework, okay? Being step 1, clarify, never jump straight into solving the issue. There's a lot of information missing, okay? So always start by asking structured questions to actually understand. And you're probably thinking right now, yeah, but what type of questions should I ask to actually clarify and get more information? Number 1 type of questions that you should be asking here is what would be the goal and the success metrics? So imagine, I'm going to give you some examples. What's the primary objective here? Like, is it customer satisfaction? Is it, get revenue? Is it get market share? Okay. How will I measure success? Now, what's our timeline? 6 months? Is it 3 years? Okay, please define the goal of the project first. Then the second thing that you will need to clarify is the context of the project. So why this market product feature? Like why India, for example? Or who would be our target audience? Another question that you can ask to actually understand the context is what constraints do we have? Is it budget? Is it resources? Is it regulations? And then now, as third thing to actually try and ask questions to find more information is the key details about the specific project, right? Who are the stakeholders involved? What data or resources are available? Or what has worked or failed in the past? Now, with this step 1 on clarifying the goal, the context, the key details, you already have much more information than at the beginning. As pro tip, while asking these questions, try to be structured, go for general, macro, to specific, micro, be engaging, like show curiosity. It shouldn't sound like an interrogation. Connect your questions logically. Question A leads to question B. Take some notes, get a piece of paper, and ask for a minute to actually organize your thoughts, okay? This is very important. Do not be afraid to ask for time and ask for a piece of paper. After we have done step 1, as clarifications, we're going to move into step 2, which is lay out your answer. Once you have clarity, structure your response in this exact order. Number 1, recap key intelligence. Okay, so basically, based on what you have told me, the goal is X, the content is Y, and we're measuring success by Z. Okay. And align expectations with the interviewer to make sure that you're not going into the right direction, into the wrong direction. Number two, state your recommendation. Okay. So you go out loud and you explain, this is what I would do. Okay. And be clear and be confident. And now the third one is explain your rationale. Okay. The reason I recommend this is because A, because B, because C, because Y. So, as a real example, it would be something like this. What I'm going to be telling you is very simple. Try and make it like more accurate, but it would sound something like, based on our discussion, the goal is to launch safe, scalable support for private car owners in emergencies and in-car voice assistance. So, here's why I would recommend to actually go for this project. India has high smartphone penetration, but varying English proficiency. So we need multiple channels, and the AI handles 70% of queries cost effectively, while human agents build trust for safety critical issues. In-car assistance provides real-time support when it matters the most. Now, as a step 3, explain and defend. Okay, walk through your logic step by step, show your thinking process. Okay, so tell them, first I considered X but ruled into Y because Z. Okay, the key driver here is Z, which led me to this approach. And if we had more budget, I would also suggest A, but given our constraints, B is more practical. Be honest about the trade-offs that you're going to be facing. Okay, so this solution prioritizes speed over cost, or we're trading customization for scalability here. Also, don't be afraid to acknowledge some limitations. Okay, this isn't perfect and here's what it could go wrong. You can say things like that. We would need to validate assumptions X and Y with user research, and that's absolutely fine. Also, during the process, don't be afraid to actually invite for feedback. And you can go to the interviewer and ask them several things, such as, does this align with what you were thinking? To actually see, what's the perception around them about what you're doing. Or is there any considerations that you think are very important that I might be missing? You can also ask that question is perfectly fine. Now, let's move into the consulting questions, okay? We have divided the consulting questions into 4. Number 1 is estimation questions, and this would go such as, how many schools are in Italy? Number 2 are the go, no go questions. So, should IBM launch a streaming platform? That could be a go, no go question. Number 3, diagnostic questions. Okay, and this would go such as, Microsoft's profits dropped. Why do you think it is? And number 4 are the brainstorming questions. Okay, so it would be something like, how would you measure a literacy program success in Uruguay? Or the Uruguayan government is planning to launch program to fight against illiteracy in the country. How would you measure success? The normal reaction every time someone hears this type of questions is obviously panicking. Your mind goes absolutely blank and you want immediately to jump into an answer. Okay? Don't. Please don't. The journey is the answer. And let me explain you why. The framework that you're seeing here on the screen is going to be your secret weapon. Okay, you need to think like a consultant. You need to ask questions before proposing solutions. Okay, but let's deep dive. Let me give you a few tips. You can take notes, make sure that you do the right assumptions and you jump into very basic calculations. Regarding the basic mental math calculations, you're only expected to do some calculations quickly by heart, so you're not interviewed by a human calculator. So try to use easy numbers, meaning that whenever we're trying to solve an estimation consultative question, don't go by choosing 53 million people in Australia, because that's gonna make more difficult your mental math calculation. So go for 20, 30, 50, 100, choose numbers like 5, 10, etc. for your around calculations. Now, as you can see, there are special frameworks for each one of the types. So we have this framework for estimation questions, which is going to be the anchor, the segment, and then calculate and round. So for example, how many beers are consumed in one day in Australia? The anchor point is going to be that Australia has 25 million people, making everything up. Now, because you might not know the population of Australia, you need to think first and actually do an open estimation. Like, hypothetically, imagine Australia has 25 million people. And then you start by that, okay? That's your anchor. It doesn't have to be right. So don't panic if you don't know, how many people live in Italia, how many people live in Australia, or how many people live in North America. Now, the second thing that you need to do is to segment, okay? So basically, as beer drinkers, there's the important segments are going to be adults plus 18, right? So if we take that, we have 19 million people, okay? And then you need to take the drinkers for the non-drinkers, and that would be, for example, 60% drink beer. That leaves you in 11 million people, okay? And now you start by calculating, okay? What do I calculate? Well, average 1.5 beers per drinker is 16.5 million beers. Okay, so if you start rounding, it's 17 million beers daily. But then you also need to take into consideration that there is a lot of anchor points or segment calculations that are gonna define the way you answer. Because if you go deeper, you can say, okay, you can ask the interviewer, is it Saturday? Is it Monday? Of course, the not everybody, the consumption of beers is not the same on a Saturday rather than a Monday. Is it summer? Is it winter? Is there a huge event happening in Australia at the moment that people going to celebrate? Like, imagine 4th of July in North America, okay, or the Super Bowl or the World Cup, okay? So all these things are going to make your answers stronger, and they're going to show the interviewer that your logical thinking makes a lot of sense. So basically, for the estimation questions, please make into consideration that you need to elucidate, then structure your answer, and then terminate. So for the go, no go question, as you can see in the screen, you have this framework that is, understand the context, understand the criteria, and of course, how do we meet that criteria? So meaning, imagine in a go, no go questions that you get, should we open a Thai restaurant in Milan? Okay. Now, we need to understand the context and we need to understand the criteria. And if we meet that criteria, our question is going to be yes or no. So we need to ask ourselves and we need to ask the interviewer, is it going to be profitable? And then ask about the market size, the competition, the pricing, the investment size. If you can do it, actually, do we have enough capital? Do we have expertise? Do we have a team? Why Italy at this specific moment? And now, for example, all the risk. Are the risks going to be manageable? Regarding regulations, what's the location? What's the timing? Regarding the financial sense, what are going to be the cost? The when do we do break even? There is a lot of context that you need to understand to make sure that it meets the criteria. Okay. Now, for the diagnostic questions that you might get, the framework that you see here on the screen, it says it very clearly, right? The what, the why, and the how. Meaning, the what, define the problem. The why, identify root causes. And the how, propose different solutions. Okay. So imagine the example of the question is Microsoft profits dropped. Why? Okay. Now we need to define the problem. So is it revenue down or is it cost up? Is it both? Okay, give me more context. Now, which product lines, which specific regions, what are the external factors? Is it competition? Is it internal operations? Imagine an acquisition. What is happening? So we need to define the problem and we need to identify the root causes. So the what and the why, you need to rely on the interviewer to give you way more information. And once you have gathered everything, then you go and propose different solutions. And regarding the brainstorming questions, please follow the framework on defining the real goal, disaggregate, and then develop different ideas. And here you need to be very creative, okay? And it's never going to be anything like right or wrong, but they expect creativity and actually this brainstorming questions. Okay, and feel free to brainstorm with the interviewer and put on the table your different ideas that obviously have to make sense. So following the framework on define the goal, disaggregate, and develop ideas. If they ask you the question of measure success of a literacy program, you need to actually define the goal by asking questions such as, okay, define success for you. Is it reading level? Is it graduation rates? Give me a little bit more information about, how I should be measuring success. Now, disaggregate like short term versus long term. Obviously, a literacy program, it's going to be like a long term project, and you need to understand more information about it. And then develop some ideas like test scores, employment rates, community service, and then, propose the interviewer different options to actually measure the success of a program. Now, key takeaways: the journey is the answer. Show your thinking. Number two, never jump to solutions. Always clarify first. Number three, use the frameworks, okay? Clarity, layout, explain. Ask structured questions, okay? From general to specific. And please remember this, try to be confident. You don't have to be perfect, okay? Acknowledge trade-offs as well. Practice this with a friend, with your family, with whoever you want, okay? Pick any product or business scenario and work through it out loud, okay? The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Now, you're ready to ace any logical questions on your way, so good luck. Now, as practice exercise, I'm gonna also give you a couple of things that you can do on your own. For example, another GCA things that you can get are, number one, you can get a question that says, design a metric system for a new food delivery feature. Number two, you can also get this example, our app's user engagement dropped 40% last month. Investigate what happened. And number three, should Tesla enter the electric boat market? As examples, you practice your own, and this is going to help you to make sure that you understood the course and that you know how to apply the frameworks. So also record yourself, notice where you actually stumble. And by doing this is exactly where you start growing and where you start improving. So sending you strength, and I'm sure you're going to do a great job.